So, what does it really take to forge a nation? It's not always about glorious battles or grand declarations. Sometimes it's about something much tougher. It's about surviving an impossible winter. Today, we're diving into the story of Valley Forge, a moment in time that could have completely destroyed a revolution, but instead ended up defining a country.
Right. This wasn't a battle fought with bullets and cannons. It was a war against the elements, a war against starvation, and really, a war against total despair. This is the story of the winter that almost ended the American Revolution, but instead, somehow, forged an army.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story begins on the absolute brink of collapse. It's the brutal winter of 1777, and the Continental Army, already battered and defeated in recent battles, has just limped into their winter camp at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. Things are not good.
Just listen to the Army's commander, George Washington. He captured the pure devastation in his own words. And you have to understand, this wasn't him being poetic or exaggerating for effect. This was the grim, day-to-day reality for thousands of his soldiers. He was literally watching his army freeze to death.
And this slide really breaks down the catastrophe into three simple, just horrifying points. The entire supply system had completely failed. Think about it. No food means starvation. No proper clothing in a Pennsylvania winter means frostbite and disease. And no real shelter? That just means constant, miserable exposure to the elements, day in and day out.
And let's be really clear about the stakes here. The American Revolution was basically on life support. At Valley Forge, more soldiers were dying from sickness and exposure than in many of the actual battles. The whole dream of independence was on the verge of just freezing to death in the mud.
But it didn't end there, in that frozen mud. Against all odds, something started to shift. And this is where the story pivots, It turns from a story of collapse to one of just unbelievable endurance. This was the turning point.
And if we had to pick one word to be the hero of our story, it's this one: resilience. It's that incredible human ability to face something unimaginable and not just survive it, but actually recover and grow stronger. This abstract idea, this inner toughness, it became the Army's most powerful weapon. And look at this. This quote just illustrates that change perfectly. This is the same George Washington who was despairing over his men's condition just a short time before. Now he's marveling at their character. He saw that even with all the physical suffering, a different kind of fire was holding them together. Their spirit was proving to be stronger than the winter cold.
And it wasn't just some internal feeling they had. We have an outsider's perspective to prove it. A Prussian officer named Baron von Steuben was brought in to train the army, and he saw something incredible. In the middle of this absolute crisis, he saw progress. They weren't just surviving. They were actively learning, drilling, and becoming a professional fighting force, day by painful day.
Which brings us to our final and maybe most crucial part of the story: forged in winter. Because the army that marched out of Valley Forge in the spring was not the same one that had stumbled in months earlier. A completely new army had emerged from the cold. This slide just shows the incredible before and after in the clearest terms possible. On the left, you've got an army that was near total collapse. And on the right, the result: an army that was not only stronger, but also vastly more disciplined. The very hardship that should have destroyed them, instead, it remade them.
Yeah, before this whole ordeal, they were basically a patchwork, a collection of different militias from different colonies. They were brave, for sure, but they weren't a single, cohesive, professional army that could really stand toe-to-toe with the British Empire. But they left as a unified fighting force. That shared hardship, the relentless training under von Steuben, and just the sheer will to endure it all together, it burned away all their regional differences, and it forged them into something entirely new: a true American army.
And so, the story of Valley Forge leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. It suggests that the true test of resilience isn't just about surviving a hard time. It's about who you become because of it. It's about being forged, not broken, by the fire.